All right, here were my favorites from the week of July 26th through August 1st. It's a pretty short one this time. I had some other stuff going on this week, so got out and did my thing, but not necessarily a ton of images. This first one, this is actually an image that I'm not super pleased with. It's kind of fun, but it could have been so much better if I would have dialed in the settings a little bit better. So I didn't really have a lot of chance to capture this. The tide and the waves had picked up, and there was this one sea lion down here on the rocks. What I was really looking for, I probably should have dropped the shutter down to maybe 1/30 or 1/40th of a second to really extend the motion in that crashing wave. The risk becomes if the sea lion starts moving too much, then it's going to blur out, your subject. But I think if I would have gotten, slowed that shutter down, another 50%, maybe increased the aperture, I think it really would have been a more spectacular photo. So here's one, an idea of something that's close, but I could have done better on, looking at those settings. So continuing on, I did get out on a boat one day, I think one day this week, and we really didn't see a lot, but what we saw was this huge pod of common dolphins stampeding multiple times, really for no reason that I could see. I kept looking behind to see if we were going to see EPT or some of the orcas or something chasing them. And I didn't see anything. I think later they determined there was a pod of bottlenose somewhere back behind them. So maybe they were stampeding away from the bottlenose. But an absolute, just mind-blowing experience. This is only part of the pod. Yeah, I felt like if I got out my shorter lens to capture more of the pod, it was gonna get real small real quick. So I kind of was trying to get the idea of what was going on while still being, it's a balancing act between the super telephoto and a lesser lens between here and there, but real fun to watch. Another look at it zoomed in, and then you got to factor that there's also dolphins underneath all this and dolphins to the left and the right. Nothing, this isn't fine art by any stretch, but it's just fun to show people. This one I actually thought of all three was probably told the story the best. This is the naturalist Ruth from San Diego Whale Watch, and we get out there quite a bit on these boats. Their staff, I'm on this boat or some other boats all the time. But when you see the staff really just in awe of the moment, here she's neither got the camera up or the microphone explaining it. It's just kind of taking in, what's actually going on. I thought that this image captured that pretty well. As a teaser, I've got a hell of an experience in the next video from this week. Male sea lion jumping up on the rocks. This is they time the flush in and out with the waves so they get a little bit of momentum, but they're super strong and they can jump really high. I mean, this water is well down there and it's gonna plop up on that rock no problem. This was a bird that I don't see a whole lot, but at the moment I don't remember what it is because again I'm a little bit behind on making these videos, so this week I've actually got another set of birds that just hit my radar yesterday. So this is a black turnstone. I'd seen them around a little bit, but hadn't really ever grabbed a shot of one. So a young sea lion playing as you would expect with a piece of kelp, waving it around while mom tries to get a little bit of sun. Thought this one was a fun one. Another one of the males. I don't think it's the same male as the previous one. It could be. There's a handful of them around. They were wrestling around. But I liked this one in terms of it's got the action, but it's also got the the finite bubbles in the water, the whitewash, the spray, the cohesion. you know, the whiskers. You've got rocks on either side. But I think really what sets this one off is the contrast here between the sea lion's body and these bubbles. You know, this is such a big animal, such a strong animal, and yet there's these really delicate bubbles accenting, you know, its front flippers and, you know, down its flanks. Some silhouetted sea lions. This one, yeah, I think this one was the more popular of the ones, of the two of them. I think, as you know, the open mouth gives it a little bit more, you know, motion, or has something a little bit more to say. I actually went down to La Jolla in the evening, which is unusual for me. The light's pretty good, and it's fun to get some different stuff. Man, there are a lot of people, and I'm not built for a lot of people. Anybody who knows me knows that. This is a sea lion surfing. You can see the, you know, the displacement here in the wave that it's created. I always like these. This one's fun. It's got some, you know, backlighting, so the wave's a couple different colors. You've got some accents here. You've got some shapes in this water cut here on the far flank. Like this one too. You know, really, I'm trying harder and harder to maximize contrast in the images that I'm sending around, and the, you know, I send around some that are just cool things that, you know, oh, I haven't seen one of these, so here's one of these. But, you know, when you're able to get, again, you know, a level of motion, a level of color difference. You know, the water looks light in some places, the rocks are heavy, the sea lion's heavy. You know, you can see a lot of different things that are contrasting here, which makes this kind of a fun photo. Same kind of concept, just, you know, hidden sea lion. I think this would be stronger shot in the morning, where the sea lion's face would have been more in the light. But I thought it was kind of fun, but I think it'd be better with the lighting inverted. This one just I got a kick out of. It seems super rock and roll for some reason. You know, it's kind of like I'm up on the walkway, and it's sort of looking like it's you know, got its head down, and you've got a little bit of motion blur here. This one, so it's 1/400th, so it was actually shaking its wings pretty good in order to get this kind of motion blur at 1/400th of a second. But and I also like that there is the details in the eye if you really looked hard. This was my favorite photo of this batch, and the reason being, you've got contrast without necessarily having a lot of contrast. But if you look closely, this water that's cascading down the rock is hitting pits, and it's actually going vertical in these little, you know, vertical channels of water, versus the wave, which is flowing past. Again, it's whitewashed, so there's not a lot of color difference, but the texture is very, very different as it pushes past in mass versus rolling down the rocks and, you know, juddering back up. And you've got this sea lion, you know, looking for the spot that it's going to jump into this wave. Like I said, I think this was my favorite, mainly because it's something that you can look at and put together and journey through. You know, even if I'd say the subject is the water in this case, but even if you thought the subject is the sea lion, and also the sea lion's looking at another sea lion, and it's got a nice angle between those two. They seem to be, you know, tied into the diagonal. But the real thing is the flush of the water past on the bottom and the explosion of the water along the top. Every once in a while, you get a shot that I don't shoot people very often, but I do. This SD SEAL Society does a lot of work down there, and I was just snapping a couple photos because I saw their docent, and I thought, you know, if one of these comes out, it'll be good. I can't do stage photos. More props to you if you can, the portraits and stuff like that. Even with my family, I only do candid shots. I won't do any attempt at anything else. But this one captured how many people they're dealing with on an evening. And this was like a weekday too. I don't think this was a weekend. But what I really liked is if you look close, you can see the blue vest here on the docent, and she's got a blue band as well. And you've got the sea lion that's seeming to say hi to her. That's not exactly what was happening. I'm sure she had positioned herself there, to help educate people and whatever. But I thought that this photo, I sent it over to the group. I'm told that people dug it. I hope that photo for her is, really tells a story about what she's putting time and effort into. And yeah, that candid moment, every once in a while I get one like this where, like, I don't want to say, yeah, I guess proud of this. I don't shoot humans very often anymore. I used to do sports a lot, almost exclusively mountain biking, but I did motocross and surfing in my past, and yeah, so anyway, I liked that one. And then I think these are the last two for this week. I've caught the 5 minutes of sun at first light down in La Jolla one morning, and this one's sleeping here on the rock. Again, the contrast, you've got the blues and you've got the browns. You have the spacing. It's just kind of a relaxing shot. This one, however, along with the one with the water drops, this is probably my second favorite, or maybe tied as far as the two of them. Just really trying to take advantage of that absolute first moment of light that's crossing, what I would consider the subject, being the male sea lion. And then it was good enough to get the small female behind it too, which was cool. But yeah, that's it's not a textbook shot in terms of you're not able to see the whole animal and this and that and the other. It's really, it's quite obvious. It's highlighting the face and it's hiding a lot of other stuff. But that contrast gives this image a whole nother depth to the story. So I think that wraps me up. If you're interested, I do post these all on my blog, and they have all of the camera settings underneath. There's also some other details I might have written down. If you're on my website, you see it. If you're on a video hosting site, I do link to my website, so I invite you to jump off of that video hosting site. Come check out my site. I've got blogs for just about every week for quite a period of time at this point. And then I've got prints for sale, stuff like that. So thanks for the watch, and look forward to doing it again next week.